The other reasons this is an important time is a great shift is occurring from the 1860s to the end of the 1870s. The great event of Galician history is 1867-68, the autonomy of Galicia. Good for the Polish elite, bad for the Ruthenians if they don't want to be Polish. Right? So autonomy was given over largely to the landowning classes and the conservatives of the city of Krakow and a few cities. It meant that institutions in Galicia in the 1860s and 70s are de-germanized and polonized. The university is taken off the list of German universities and put on the list of Polish universities. I might add the percentage of Ruthenians drops from 45% of the students down to the low 30s through this process, so it's going to change the balance between. I don't think this, by the way, was a conscious policy all worked out, but it was going to work against them. And for the Poles, Lviv University, Krakow is already going to become a Polish university, but Lviv is the capital. It's the going city. It's the modern city, and this is going to become a major center of Polish national thought for Poles from throughout the Russian Empire, the German Empire, because suddenly, as the German professors all leave, and suddenly Polish professors are put in. There are a few Ukrainian professors of the university that came from 1848. Professor Ohonovsky taught Ruthenian literature. Professor Sharanevich was at the university. But the university is being rapidly Polonized and becoming a center of Polish political activity. What this also meant in Ukrainian life is the results of 1867 bring the height of so-called Russophilism or Moscophilism to Galicia. So there is a saying of this period that better to drown in a Russian sea than sink in a Polish swamp. Right? That is, in this context of Galicia, it looks like you have two choices. You have the Poles who are now ascended over everything, who view you as basically a subspecies of Poles, who control the province, and you have this large Rus to the east. And of course, that Rus was a very amorphous category. You have books arriving from the Russian Empire that are of importance. You have books coming in Russian that are expressing Ukrainian ideas. Remember, it's the Russian Empire did not permit you to publish publications in Russian, but you could publish in Ukrainian, but you could publish nice journals with all kinds of Ukrainian topics. So this Rus was a rather amorphous idea, but for a number of particularly clergy, this becomes a possible out. One of the times comes with the abolition of the Union in the Kholm region. And there's a wonderful article in Volume 1 that I passed around about the priests of the Kholm area. It's a shame Yurko Darevich is not here because he comes from a family of priests who left the Kholm area to move to Galicia because they wanted to maintain the Union. But probably a larger number of priests moved from Galicia to the Kholm region to help the Russians bring in orthodoxy. Why? Because they had poor positions in Galician mountains. It looked like a good position. The Union looked too Polish to them in Kholm, and the Union was relatively Polonized in the Kholm region. And they joined this group. And why I recommend that article in Volume 1, which is now over here, but when you look at it, there are letters from a priest, the neighbor of Father Zubrytsky's parish, who does go to Kholm and writes back, and you find out two things. The priest writes, his son who's at the seminary writes, and the Yimosh writes.
Priest's wife.
Yeah, so the priest writes to tell what's happened with life and how are you doing, my friends, and whatever, and goes on. One thing that is never mentioned is that I've had a change in religion. How is my parish? How many spirits fellows I have? It's professional. The son writes saying, I'm in the seminary, and What they said that you can learn Velikoruskoye Narechia so quickly is not true. You can't learn Russian as quickly as they told me I could learn Russian. So you already get some indication that this is a different territory. And most interesting is the priest's wife, because of course she doesn't know Cyrillic coming from Galicia. So she actually writes in Ukrainian and Latin letters. It's the most Ukrainian of the text comes, which shows you something about education, cultural ways. Now, I've digressed into this in Zubrytsky's writing on the way to explain that until the late 1870s, particularly under the leadership of Father Ivan Nahumovich, it looked like the Russophile tendency was going to dominate. It certainly dominated among many of the clergy and in their attitudes. Their other reason it dominated was what the writer later called obscurantism. If you get a nice Church Slavonic text and you put it next to, and you know both Ukrainian and Russian, you know that Russian letters look more like Church Slavonic than Ukrainian letters. Russian today has more Church Slavonic words than Ukrainian has, right? So there is a certain way. It's only in Old Galician we use still a lot of Church Slavonic that's disappearing, of the way our great-grandparents talk some kind of Galician. So there are reasons why this looks to them like a possibility. But above all, it is the struggle and fear that if we give up anything, we will be polonized. And we have to stop this polonization among a certain group of the clergy. What happens to Father Zubrytsky in the seminary in 1879? The Lviv Seminary Library is revived. It was first formed in 1848.